Season 22 is here and there is quite a few new guns that have been added to the game. But the real question seems to be, are these weapons any good and are they worth replacing my most used weapons currently? One of the most simplest, easiest ways to figure out if any of these guns are actually good is just to see what people are using. If they're not using them, then they mustn't be that good. So in today's video, let's cover the top 10 most used weapons in the first week of Season 22. All of this information was gathered through DestinyTracker.com, so shout out to them. Starting off with weapon number 10, we have the Other Half. This is one of the legendary swords from Dares of Eternity. This sword will always be in the top used weapons because of its perk Eager Edge. This is one of two swords in the entire game that can only get Eager Edge, plus it's craftable. I'm sure this late into Destiny everyone knows what Eager Edge does, but basically it just gives you increased lunge distance when you pull out this sword. So when players are just trying to speedrun activities, they always have the Other Half equipped so that they can jump, skip, do shadow dives or well skates, or even just skate around the map much faster. I know for me personally, if I'm not doing any raids or dungeons, the Other Half is always equipped. Trust me, it's a lot of fun, and if you haven't got one yet, all you need is for one red border to drop from Dares of Eternity and you can craft this weapon. So head over into Dares of Eternity to get yours crafted now. Number 9, we have the WITHERHOARD, and I'm quite surprised this is only number 9 in this season. The WITHERHOARD has always been a powerhouse at dealing damage over time to all of the bosses and even just minor enemies in the game. Any sort of damage over time in Destiny 2 will dramatically increase your damage. All you have to do is stick the boss or just put it on the floor near the boss, and then you can switch to a completely different gun and you're dealing 2 damage worth of guns. Whether you're doing a raid or even just a dungeon, it is always worth at least one Guardian in your fire team running a WITHERHOARD. If you can coordinate with your team, it's worth having 2 WITHERHOARDs because that is the maximum damage over time that you can stack with the WITHERHOARD. One player sticks the boss while the other player shoots the floor. To maximize this weapon's efficiency, you're gonna need the Catalyst, which basically gives it auto-loading holster. I'm not 100% sure on how to get the Catalyst for this one, but just head over to your collections tab, down to the Catalyst section, and then find the WITHERHOARD and it will tell you exactly how to find it. Moving on to number 8, we have the Thunderlord. This is by far the best exotic machine gun in the game, and it's arguably also the best machine gun in the game, except for the fact that it's an exotic and that will take up one of your exotic weapon slots. The Thunderlord is definitely one of the best weapons to deal with ads in the game. It can clear a whole room of ads within seconds. With its ability on its lightning rounds to call down lightning strikes every time you get a headshot kill, this will wipe the floor with all of the ads. On top of this, it also has intrinsic overload, meaning you can deal with all of your overload champions. Overall, it's a really solid gun, and it's going to be useful in the Crota's raid, especially in the maze when we have an overload of ads. So if you haven't got one, it's one of the most used weapons for a reason, so make sure to go and get it. Coming in at number 7, we have the Apex Predator. Now the Apex Predator is by far one of the best, highest dealing damage rockets in the entire game. This is one of the few rockets that you want to have equipped when you're dealing damage to bosses. If you want to be at the top of your team doing the most damage, you're going to want an Apex Predator. Hell, it's even built into the name, Apex Predator. This weapon is obtainable through the Last Wish raid, and it is also craftable. The 2 roles that you want to be going for this weapon is definitely Reconstruction and Bait and Switch. The Reconstruction perk will overflow this magazine to have 2 rockets in the mag, and it will also reload it when you don't have it in your hands. And the Bait and Switch will give you a 35% damage boost to that weapon. Bait and Switch is one of the highest boosting damage modifiers in the entire game, so you definitely want to get one of these before Crota's raid. Now before people jump into the comments and say, oh well, the Cold Comfort is technically better, it can roll with Envious Assassin, it's just not as easy to obtain. The chances of you getting the perfect gold roll with Envious Assassin and Bait and Switch on a Cold Comfort are pretty slim, not to mention how long this could really take you, and also how hard Envious Assassin is to proc mid-boss fight, so just go and farm Cali in the Last Wish and get your hands on an Apex Predator. Taking up position 6, we have the Forbearance. Now, I've covered this weapon multiple times on my channel. The Forbearance is the best ad clearing weapon in the entire game. Because this grenade launcher is a wave frame, it makes it much easier to use than all of the other grenade launchers in the game. Simply shoot the floor in front of the enemy and it's going to make a trail and kill more enemies that are behind it and also around it. This weapon can have the amazing perk combination of Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction. So getting 1 kill is going to overflow the next magazine with 2 bullets, and also killing an enemy will make them explode in a huge arc burst due to Chain Reaction. This is the best weapon to deal with ads in all of your raid and dungeon scenarios, so make sure you get your hands on one of these if you can. This one is obtainable through the Vow of Disciple raid. complete. Plus, it is also craftable. Number 5, we have the RETROFIT ESCAPADE. Another solid, great legendary machine gun in the game. This weapon is pretty funny. This is definitely one of the most sought after legendary machine guns in the game. People have been asking for this for so long. Now, what's funny about this is all of last season, people were saving all of their deep sight harmonizers to get this one to drop from one of the vendors in the game. And unfortunately it didn't, but during the first week of this season, the gunsmith was selling the literal gold roll for this gun. So if you haven't gone down there and grabbed it yet, I would make sure you go and get it right now. It's rolling with target lock and 4th times the charm. This is the gold roll. This is what you want to get on this weapon, and the gunsmith is selling it. However, if he's not selling it when you go and check, that's not the biggest of problems, because during this season's exotic mission rotator, the RETROFIT ESCAPADE will have a chance at dropping. But besides that point, this is still a wonderful void machine gun. If you can proc volatile rounds with this machine gun, being a 900 RPM machine gun, this weapon can shoot a lot of bullets really fast. I would definitely recommend trying to farm one of these through the exotic mission rotator whenever that one comes around, but good luck getting them, and maybe even consider using your deep sight harmonizers this season. Number 4, we have the RUFUS'S Fury. This weapon is simply just a no-brainer. It's been in the top 5 most popular weapons used in the past 3 seasons, and honestly, that's just fair enough, because the simplest way to put this weapon is it's just nice. With a great perk pool like reconstruction and target lock, it's just an overall solid auto rifle. If you want to use an auto rifle, I would recommend using the RUFUS'S Fury or the QUICKSILVER Storm. And if you've already got your exotic spot taken up, then the RUFUS'S Fury is your go-to weapon. Now, the RUFUS'S Fury is obtainable through the Root of Nightmares raid, one of the easiest raids in the game to complete. So if you haven't done many of them, jump in and find an LFG group and try and get some done. Now, speaking of the QUICKSILVER Storm, that one takes position number 3. The QUICKSILVER Storm is just a solid weapon to use in all of your activities in Destiny, whether you're using a strand or a solar subclass. With the alternate fire mode being able to shoot grenades that can do upwards of 60,000 damage, it's basically a special and a kinetic weapon tied into one. It is a really solid weapon, and I recommend using it if you haven't tried it out too much. Now, number 2, we have the MONTE CARLO. Honestly, I'm surprised this isn't number 1 because it has a brand new catalyst, and it makes this weapon really fun. Not only is this weapon really fun now with its new catalyst, it's also really effective. With the ability just to randomly refresh your charge melee at any given moment, it's incredible. The build capabilities that this weapon gives you to use in any of your builds on any class is seriously something to be reckoned with. My personal favorite build to use this weapon with is with the Strand Berserker Titan. With its new Strand Aspect Banner of War, and paired with the MONTE CARLO, having unlimited melees that do an extra 40% damage is just ridiculous. So if you haven't got the MONTE CARLO catalyst yet, I recommend jumping in and doing as many strikes or crucible games, or even Gambit if you enjoy that, because this is the only way that the MONTE CARLO catalyst is going to drop. It took me about 15 strikes, but I eventually got it. Now, wrapping this list up with number 1, we have the brand new grenade launcher, the XDIRIS. I was not expecting this sort of weapon coming into this season, but when I use it, it's a lot of fun, especially when we kill Hive Knight Boomers with their own weapons. Although it seems pretty fun, I'm not too sure if it's actually really effective. I believe this weapon is only number 1 right now after the first week because everyone is trying to use it, try it out, and just get the brand new catalyst done for it. Unfortunately, I don't think people are using this because it is super overpowered or really strong. I think they're just using it because of those reasons. But hey, it's a brand new gun and I'm using it too, so that sort of just makes sense. But anyway, Guardians, that will wrap the list up there. There are your top 10 most popular weapons after the first week of Season 22. I'm sure as the season goes on, maybe some of these new weapons from the helm might start coming up in the ranks, and I'll make a new video if that's the case. But anyway, Guardians, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy this content, feel free to drop a like and a subscribe down below. Drop a comment down below of what your favorite thing in Season 22 is. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.